John chapter 19. Then Pilate therefore took Jesus and scourged him. And the soldiers wove a crown of thorns and put it on his head. And they put on him a purple robe, and said, Hail, the King of the Jews! And they struck him with their hands. Pilate therefore went out again, and said to them, Look, I bring him out to you, that you may know that I find no fault in him. Then Jesus came out, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said to them, Look, the man! When the chief priests there and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him! Crucify him! Pilate said to them, You take him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. The Jews answered him, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was even more afraid, and went again into the judgment hall, and said to Jesus, Who are you? But Jesus gave him no answer. Then Pilate said to him, You do not speak to me? Do you not know that I have power to crucify you, and have power to release you? Jesus answered, You could have no power at all against me, except it were given to you from above. Therefore he that delivered me to you has the greater sin. And from then on Pilate sought to release him. But the Jews cried out, saying, If you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend. Whoever makes himself a king speaks against Caesar. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Jesus out, and sat down in the judgment seat in the place that is called the Pavement, but in the Hebrew, Gabbatha. And it was the preparation of the Passover, and about the 6th hour, and he said to the Jews, Behold your king! But they cried out, Away with him! Away with him! Crucify him! Pilate said to them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar. Then he delivered him to them to be crucified. And they took Jesus and led him away. And he, bearing his cross, went out into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, one on either side, and Jesus in the middle. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. This title then many of the Jews read, for the place where Jesus was crucified was close to the city, and it was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Then the chief priests of the Jews said to Pilate, Do not write, the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am the King of the Jews. Pilate answered, What I have written, I have written. Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part, and also his coat. Now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. They said therefore among themselves, Let us not tear it, but cast lots for it to decide whose it shall be, that the scripture might be fulfilled, which said, They parted my coat among them. These things therefore the soldiers did. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother, and his mother's sister Mary the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple standing by, whom he loved, he said to his mother, Woman, behold your son. Then he said to the disciple, Behold your mother. And from that hour that disciple took her to his own home. After this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, said, I am thirsty. Now there was set a vessel of vinegar, and they filled a sponge with vinegar, and put it on a hyssop stalk, and put it to his mouth. When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, It is finished. And he bowed his head, and gave up the ghost. The Jews therefore, because it was the preparation day, that the body should not remain on the cross on the Sabbath day, for the Sabbath day was an high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken, and that they might be taken away. Then the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first, and of the other, which was crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was dead already, they did not break his legs. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and right away blood and water came out. And he that saw it bore record, and his record is true. And he knows that what he said is true, that you might believe. For these things were done, that the scripture should be fulfilled, a bone of him shall not be broken. And again another scripture said, they shall look on him whom they pierced. And after this Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Jesus, but secretly, for fear of the Jews, inquired of Pilate that he might take away the body of Jesus. And Pilate gave him permission. He came, therefore, and took the body of Jesus. And Nicodemus came also, which at the first came to Jesus by night, and brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pound weight. And they took the body of Jesus and wound it in linen cloths, with the spices, as the manner of the Jews is to bury. Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre, where no man was ever laid. There they laid Jesus, therefore, because of the Jews' preparation day, for the sepulchre was close at hand.